Hi, this is Randy Wimmer, and welcome to our webinar. We've already got a lot of people here, so let's get started. We're all small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs, and we all have a dream. Now, I'm just going to cut to the chase. There's basically only two strategies that's going to help you accomplish that dream. So let's talk about those two different strategies and those two different types of companies. An income-based company. Well, what's the pluses of those? Well, it improves your quality of living through corporate income. Makes sense. You know, you have a lemonade stand on the side, is bringing in some income. Hey, you can go out there and buy that bicycle now. Quality of life has been improved. However, it doesn't scale to accumulate wealth. Now let's take a look at an equity-based company. Well, what are the pluses? Well, it focuses on increasing wealth by owning an appreciating asset. But what happens when you don't have money to buy the asset? There's your first negative. Your first negative is it typically takes money to buy the asset to make money. That is why entrepreneurs launch startups. If you can't afford to buy an appreciating asset, you create one. You create it with your sweat. It took me $500 to launch my first company, and I don't want you to think that that's all it cost me. It cost me 8+ years of my life that I wasted to figure things out. If you want to create wealth, you want to have an equity-based company. One of the smartest things I ever did was go to an M&A firm and say, hey, I want to create no kidding equity in my company. How do I do that? And it's all about an equity-based company. It's all about identifying the needs of future buyers. So what does that mean? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons why somebody may want to buy your company. New products, new sales channels, new capabilities, new customers, new this, new that, ... But it all comes down to this right here. You have to have valuable customer engagements. We're all talking about large customer engagements. You got to have big deals, big contracts. It's just got to be big. Well, here's the good news. Most small businesses play in the tiny, bottom-feeding, low-profit subcontracts or the small deals. It's a feeding frenzy down there. Now, I have won contracts for tens of millions of dollars, and my competition you could count on your fingers of one hand. Now, I'm not talking about two hands, I'm talking about one hand. And so your competition, as the size of the opportunity increases, tremendously decreases. But still, there's a lot of competition out there. It doesn't matter what area you're operating in. There's 31.7 million small U.S. businesses. You got a ton of competition in your market space. Every market space has a ton of competition. So how do you stand out? Assets resume is perfectly blank when you're starting out. When you're a small business, whatever work experience that you have is pretty insignificant. So how do you compensate for your total lack of work experience? You do it the same way you do when you graduate high school and you go to college. You get credentials. But you're getting credentials for your company. Less than 1% of U.S. businesses can show an ISO certification logo in their marketing material. Less than 1%. Now, in addition to being validated by an accredited third party and being shown to be compliant with the globally accepted industry best practice for doing things the best way, these are the principles that are associated with having it. You're customer focused. You've got aligned leadership within the company. You've got engaged and empowered employees. You've taken process approach to have consistent performance. You're committed to continuously improve. You use evidence-based decision making, and you're focused on relationship management. Those are all positive things that every single company I know of would be really proud to have associated with their company brand, to prove to those large companies that you are low risk. It's all about risk. The larger the customer engagement, the more they focus on risk rather than anything else. And you got no work history. to prove that you can do it. So what do? You put forth your credentials. I know that you're in the heat of the battle right now and you don't see it, but a services company is one of the cheapest startups that you can launch. You're not dropping $1.5 million in an expensive franchise. You don't have to do expensive R&D. You don't have to do expensive manufacturing. You don't have to buy all this infrastructure. You don't have to make any of those investments. Why not invest the equivalent of 96 cents more to your services company to eliminate that 8.5 years? I wasted 8.5 years of my life because I didn't make that tiny little investment to expedite my growth curve. And it is a curve, it really is. I didn't have the wisdom to do that. Now you're looking at me like, yeah, okay, Randy, you're selling something. Okay, fair enough, I am. So, don't believe me. In 2014, they launched a contract vehicle that was called the Oasis contract. It was one acquisition for integrated services. Look at these services that they were asking small businesses to do: financial, logistics, engineering, scientific, management consulting, and program management. This was an earlier version. They actually included R&D on this as well as a core discipline. So these were high-end services, and they wanted small businesses to be able to do it. So they went and they accepted the best 108 small businesses in industry to be on this contract vehicle. So everybody wanted to use it because they wanted, the best companies to be able to do the work. 5 years later, in 2019, they realized, man, half of our companies are gone. And the reason why is because they grew so quickly that they were acquired. Yours truly included in that. So they say, hey, we need to add more companies to this list. So they did an on-ramp where they, again, did a solicitation, and they selected the 58 best available small businesses to join this contract. So 53% of those new awardees were ISO certified. 31% were CMMI appraised. And again, those are comparable credentials. Over 70% had one or the other. Over 70%. What's interesting is, let's take a look at the companies that they kicked off, because they were no longer small. You had to be, when they started this, you had to be below 16 million. Well, the largest company that they kicked off was almost 300 million. I want you to think about that. And most of these companies were over 100 million. So they had grown rapidly during that 5 years because they were really good companies. They were going to grow no matter what. 23 out of 26 of those companies were ISO certified. 23 out of 26 of arguably the best small businesses supporting the federal government were ISO certified. 23 out of 26. 88%, 9 out of 10. If something is 9 out of 10, it's not a coincidence. We sit with you for 1 hour to get your information. We take that information and we create a fully customized ISO program to your company. While we're doing that, you're doing our 6, 7, 8 hour online self-paced training program to manage, to learn how to manage your program. So while you're doing that training program, we go one step further. So we're providing you the ISO compliant process. You're learning how to use it. And then what we do is we provide you an example record of what an end product would look like having used it. For example, every small business out there has a cash flow risk. So we enter a risk in your risk register. Boom. That's what a risk looks like in your risk register. There's one record. But your program says that you've got to assess that risk. You've got to evaluate it. So you've got an evaluation form. So we evaluate that risk. Now, this is what 99.999% of our clients do. They realize that their program is never going to be more pristine than when we give it to them. They haven't had a chance to screw it up yet. And these records that were created by experts who have been doing this for over a decade, they're not going to be any better than anything that they'll be able to create a year from now or 6 months from now, whenever from now. And they realize that they will never be more ready for that ISO audit than they are then. So what they do is they take those example but very authentic records and they sign them, and now they become real records for their company. And then they have their audit. Now, if you're a services company, they don't have to do an in-person audit. They can do a remote audit. So what I do to avoid you having that additional expense and inconvenience, I use a company that's outside the United States, fully accredited. ISO is a global certification, so you didn't have to be a U.S.-based accredited company. It can be any accredited company. So I find one that's overseas, cheaper, and they do it remotely. So they're not in your office for 3 to 4 days, shutting your productivity down. And by doing so, I am able to do it at a fraction of the cost of other companies. Now, how much does it cost? Well, when I got my first ISO certification, ISO 9001 in 2013, my total cost was $25,000. Now, if you Google total cost to get ISO 27001, this is Google. There's nothing nefarious about what I'm showing you here. On average, it's about $55,000, $40,000 for the ISO prep to get you ready for the audit, and $15,000 for the actual audit itself. That's $55,000 on average. I can get you 2 for less than that. And since you're suffering through this webinar, what I'm doing is I'm also offering our advanced government contracting program on top of that. Now that is a $10,000 program that I'm offering for free. If you'd like to learn more, email me at Randall at ISO Certification Group or Randall.Wimmer at Government Contracting Academy. I also have a book that's called Good Enough to Launch Your Company. I launched just a couple months ago, and it kind of covers, my approach to launch a company.